Hi. So if you've seen the latest Video Memories episode, you'll know that I now own this, the Universal Classic Monsters Complete 30 Film Collection. This is quite a collection. It is quite impressive. I've been interested in these movies for a while now. The first one I saw was Frankenstein, and that was back in 2010. And then I bought this in February this year, about a week after I did my VHS and DVD collection video. And they were all good. They were all good. I watched the movies last year before buying the box set, and they were good. Well, I watched the Frankenstein ones anyway. And then this year, I thought of doing a marathon of classic movies in October. So in mid-August, I bought this. It was cheap. It was about £70 for this. That was including shipping and everything. I figured it's an American import. It would take forever to get here. And yeah, it took about 5 or 6 days for it to ship, so I was shitting myself that it wouldn't be here in time. Lo and behold, it's here before the end of August. It was here in 2 weeks. So this is really nice. This is really nice. So I had to change my plans from one movie in every day in October to one every 2 days from September to October. And so yeah, and then that changed again because I watched one movie one day and then I watched about three the next day. Then I thought, you know what? Can I finish this before my other half's birthday? And I actually made it. Her birthday is September 15th, so I basically gave myself 2 weeks to go through this. And you know, I made it. I made it. It was in 12 to 13 days, I think. So just a quick recap. So this is 30 movies in one. And, you know, it's got artwork of Bela Lugosi as Dracula, Boris Karloff as the Frankenstein monster, who I think is Tom Tyler as Karis the Mummy. It's either him or Lon Chaney Jr. Elsa Lanchester as the bride of Frankenstein, and Lon Chaney Jr. as the Wolfman. It's all very nice. So in this entire collection, we have from 1931 Dracula, you know, the original absolute classic. It's very stagey. I noticed that the first time I watched the movie. It's very stagey compared to the rest of the movies because it's adapted from a stage play. And there's one scene that gives it away. It's when I think Jonathan Harker runs to the balcony and says,
What's that? Running across the lawn. Looks like a huge dog.
yeah, you don't do that in a movie. That's a stage thing. You know, you gesture to something off screen. That's something you do in a stage show. But it was a good movie. It's a good movie. Bela Lugosi is my favorite Dracula, and yeah, the movie is still good, even if it is stagey. From 1931, we have Frankenstein, which is probably the most classic movie here. Yeah, also good. That's, like I said, the first one I saw. From 1932, The Mummy, which was a good movie. It was really good at the beginning. It had kind of a weak ending, but I'd call it a good movie still. The Invisible Man from 1933. That is probably in my top five for these movies, because top five at least, because you know I've seen the movie a couple of times and it is really good. The Invisible Man is really good. It's probably one of the funniest movies in this collection, if not the funniest. The Bride of Frankenstein from 1935. A lot of people say that's the best, and you know, I can't fault them for that. That is a really, really good movie. Also, one thing I noticed about this movie, um, Henry Frankenstein's best friend, Victor, who was a big part in the first movie, is not in this one. So, and it's weird. We never see him. We never reference him. So I like to think that some point in Frankenstein, when Frankenstein walks off with the group of villagers with the torches, he thought, "Fuck this, I'm out." So I kind of bit love that. I like to think that. Werewolf of London from 1935. That movie had good ideas because it's every month at the full moon he transforms into a werewolf, and if you don't consume, you need to consume at least one human per cycle, otherwise the change becomes permanent. So I like that. It's an interesting idea. The movie kind of drags in places, but it was good for what it was. It's not as good as The Wolfman. It's not as good as The Wolfman. Dracula's Daughter from 1936. I liked that. I thought that was a good movie. It's better than Werewolf of London, at least. I mean, it's interesting and it's a decent watch, especially for a female vampire. Son of Frankenstein from 1939. I think that one is probably my favourite out of this entire collection. Because Basil Rathbone was great as Wolf Frankenstein. You got Bela Lugosi as Igor, probably his best role. He's a complete mental case. And you've got Boris Karloff as the monster. Yeah, he plays a smaller role in this thing in the original movie and Bright. But, I was fine with it. I was fine with it. Basil Rathbone leads the movie, and Bela Lugosi is great as Igor. The Invisible Man Returns from 1940. That was also a good movie. Almost as good as the first. It's almost there. I mean, Vincent Price is really good. It's, I think, John Griffin's brother. Oh no, wait, the brother was the scientist who made the serum. I forget what Vincent Price's character. I forget what his name was in that movie, but it was a good movie though. The Mummy's Hand from 1940. Yeah, I thought that was a good one. The problem is the Mummy movies suck after this one because it's a weird thing because there's a scene in The Mummy's Hand where there's a contract and it shows it's May 12th, 1940. And then you get to the Mummy's Tomb, the Mummy's and the Mummy's Ghost. They take place 30 years later, which means it's 1970. It looks nothing like 1970. It looks like 1944. And then you get the Mummy's Curse, which takes place 25 years after that. So it's 1995 that movie takes place. And it looks nothing like 1995. It's fucking weird. I don't know why they did that. Yeah, The Mummy's Hand from 1940. That one was a good one, at least. The Invisible Woman from 1940 was fucking awful. It was... Oh god, that one made my head hurt. I was laughing myself silly at how bad it was. The Wolfman from 1941. I've heard people say that's the best in the entire series. It's good, but I don't see it being that good. I'd say the Dracula and the Invisible Man were better, honestly. The Ghost of Frankenstein from 1942. The first one with it, Boris Karloff. I actually really like that one. That is one I go back to very often. And that is... Ghost of Frankenstein is the one that was in the Looney Tunes Video Memories episode. That's the one where you see the monster screaming. That's when Igor's brain is put into the monster's skull. And that's when he says, my favourite line in the entire... Probably in the entire franchise. It's when he says... Igor will live forever. Exactly. The Invisible Agent from 1942. Surprisingly good considering the concept. It's the Invisible Man taking on Nazis who for some reason don't have a German accent. But it was a good movie, surprisingly. I didn't think, getting that serious with it, taking on Nazis. But it was a good movie, surprisingly. The Mummy's Tomb from 1942. That movie sucked. That one was awful. It was the way Steve and Babe died. That was pathetic. I hate that movie. Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. When I first saw that movie, I liked it, but then, I rewatched it, and then I realised how irritating the villagers were, because I don't know, did they complain that much in Bride? I don't think they did. But from Son of Frankenstein, Ghost of Frankenstein, they all have a serious anti-Frankenstein vendetta. And basically anything goes wrong in Frankenstein or Visaria, they blame it on a Frankenstein. And this is the point where I get, oh my god, I fucking get it. So yeah, it had potential. It was a good idea because it combined the Wolfman and the Frankenstein monster. But it wasn't. It was decent. It was okay, but I don't really think I like it that much. I just contradicted myself there. Phantom of the Opera from 1943. I've never seen the Lon Chaney version from 1925, so I thought this was a pretty good one, actually. That's probably the peak with the Universal series, because I think it peaked around Ghost of Frankenstein, maybe Phantom of the Opera, and then it's just downhill from there. Not that the other movies are bad, there's a few that sucked, but from there we've got Son of Dracula from 1943, which I thought was alright. Probably not as good as Dracula's Daughter, but it was interesting. It had a good ending, where he has to set the love of his life on fire because she's a vampire. The Invisible Man's Revenge, also a good movie. My fiance, I showed her the ending of that because she's a dog lover. The German Shepherd that's owned by the main scientist goes after the Invisible Man because the Invisible Man killed the scientist. He actually chases him and then mauls him right at the end. So I like the ending of that, at least. It was a good movie still, though. The Mummy's Ghost from 1942. I've addressed this about The Mummy's Tomb and The Mummy's Ghost taking place in 1970, but I thought this one was alright. It did nothing new, nothing amazing. You know, honestly, with the Mummy movies, it's you've seen it all, really, because there's only so much he does in every movie. He gets revived, he goes around killing people, kidnaps the female lead, he eventually dies, and that's about it. Except in this case, the female lead actually dies, so yeah, it's all cool. House of Frankenstein from 1944. You see, I thought that one was okay because it had the Wolfman, it had Frankenstein's monster, it had Dracula, it had Boris Karloff. I thought it was pretty good. Yeah, that's about it. It was probably the best monster mash they did until Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. The Mummy's Curse from 1944. That one also sucked. It takes place in 1995. It looks nothing like 1995. It sounds nothing like 1995. I don't know what the hell they were thinking, setting that far in the future. I mean, if it was 10 years later, or maybe 15, they could have gotten away with it, but no, not 50 fucking years later. House of Dracula from 1945. This one I'm very conflicted with because it is the worst Frankenstein movie out of them all. And it's very lazy. It's probably the most rushed movie there in the entire collection. I mean, the ending of this is a weird thing about me. The ending is what I love the most and what I hate the most at the same time. Because the entire ending is taken straight from Ghost of Frankenstein. So what we have, and I love this, I don't know why I love this, but I do. You've got Lon Chaney telling the villagers with the angry torches to get out of the lab because the Frankenstein monster's loose. And then they cut to the stock footage from Ghost of Frankenstein of Lon Chaney as the monster trying to escape. So what we have is Lon Chaney telling them to get out, and then he looks behind him, and then it cuts to Lon Chaney trying to escape. So it's Lon Chaney trying to get away from Lon Chaney. It is really bizarre, but I love it. Even though it's a bad movie, but I love that bit. Werewolf of London from 1946. This movie sucked. Let's put it this way, it should not be on this collection. There is no monster in it. Despite the title, there is no werewolf, and certainly no female werewolf. It's a murder mystery, that's it, and not even a good one at that. Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. This is probably the best Frankenstein movie they made since Son of Frankenstein. Because this one I saw, I think last year, I saw the first 5 or 10 minutes of it, and I didn't get into it, but then I sat down and watched it for this, and it was really funny. It was really good. Seeing Bela Lugosi back as Dracula, that just reminded me of why he is the best Dracula for me. And you almost say Frankenstein twice. I mean, he was the monster in Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, and that didn't go well for him because his performance got butchered. But in this, he's a really great Dracula. Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man. That one was also good. It's a smarter movie than the Frankenstein one, but I don't know. I don't know if I like it as much as Meet Frankenstein. It's really close, I think. Creature from the Black Lagoon from 1954. Another really good one. Probably the most sympathetic monster since the Frankenstein monster, because he's in his lagoon, minding his own business. Humans come along to look for, I think it was a fossil they were looking for, and they just invade him. They try and capture him, and then he goes apeshit and tries to take them down. He's probably the most sympathetic one. I'd say that was a good one. Revenge of the Creature from 1955. I first saw the poster for this in Back to the Future 3 when they made that Clint Eastwood reference, and never did I think I'd actually sit down and watch the movie. And it's alright. It's fine. It's definitely B movie though. That's when it became a B movie. Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy. I thought I didn't think it was that good, that one, because I started zoning out when I watched that one. To be fair, I did 4 movies in one day when I watched that one, but yeah, I zoned out. Clarice isn't even that in it. The Mummy isn't even in it that much. I mean, it's not bad, but it's nowhere near as good as Frankenstein and the Invisible Man. And finally, The Creature Walks Among Us from 1956. Once again, it's okay. It's probably, oh god, I don't know how I'd rank it with the second one. It's nowhere near as good as the first Creature. The first Creature is probably the best one, and probably the only really good one. But yeah, that one was alright as well. And then there's bonus features at the end of this, behind the scenes documentaries, audio commentaries, and the Spanish version of Dracula, because they made a Spanish version at the same time as they did the English one. And I've heard people say that the Spanish one is better artistically, which I can kind of see, but I don't know. I'd have to sit down and watch them both. I mean, I watched Dracula already. I might do the Spanish version for Halloween. I'm not sure, but I suppose artistically, because it had a lower budget, it had a shorter filming schedule, and it came out looking better. So I'd have to compare. I'm not entirely sure, but I doubt that. I mean, Carlos Villarreal does a decent Dracula, but he's not Bela Lugosi, so that's my issue. But you never know. Maybe it is better in my eyes. So yeah, that's this box set. It's 70 movies. Technically, it's 30 movies. Technically 31 if you count the Spanish Dracula. And for £70, that's a good deal. But I would I recommend it? Yeah, sure, if you're a classic horror movie lover. But I should warn you, if you have the Legacy Collection, be warned, it's just going to be a repackaged version of that. Beyond this massive box, you're not getting anything new. Oh, fuck, here we go. So yeah, beyond that, if you have the Legacy Collection, you're not really getting anything new here. If you have the Legacy Collections for Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy, the Invisible Man, the Wolf Man, Phantom of the Opera, and Creature from the Black Lagoon, if you have them, you're not really getting anything much beyond this book, House of Horror, which is about the movies, the characters, the actors, the crew. Yeah, it's basically a book about facts that came with it. So if that's basically what you're getting out of this, all packaged together in this book. So if you don't have the Legacy Collections, you're good to go, really, if you can afford it. Because this is just the DVD version. The DVDs look great. That's a positive thing here. And it came fast, at least, especially from America. So I'd call this a winner. Oh, all right. That's that covered. Stay tuned for November. We're going to talk about Toy Story.